welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. I hope your guys' week is going well. Back at it with another video, and this is probably one that's pretty highly anticipated. Today, we're going to take another look at Pluto's ingress into the sign of Aquarius. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and drop me a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from and where Pluto will be making moves in your chart. Oh boy. Well, I'm titling this video Unleashing the Age of Collective Transformation. Obviously too many letters for my sign, but definitely seems really appropriate for this particular video. Since last year in 2023, I've been putting out videos here and there on that transit. So there's tons of information, and we're going to continue to talk about this transit really all year long. But Pluto will be making an ingress pretty soon, moving into the fixed air sign of Aquarius. This will be taking place on January 20th or 21st, depending on where you are in the world. We've also got Uranus, which will be stationing direct here at the end of the month around the 26th. So we've got some really big outer planet energy shifts that are going to be bringing some shocking surprises. Now I want to talk to you guys a little bit about first the cycle of Pluto. Then we're going to take a couple looks at Pluto in history, moving through this particular sign. I'm going to talk to you guys about how this may be affecting all of us as a collective. And if you stay tuned till the end, we'll be going through the 12 rising signs. Now, Pluto's transit through the zodiac is one of the longer transits that we see because Pluto is an outer planet. So the actual cycle of Pluto can range anywhere between 14 to 30 years, depending on Pluto's retrograde motion and the specific degrees that it's covering. Now, in the spring of 2023, we saw Pluto move into Aquarius. It hung out at 0 degrees for a few short months before retrograding back into Capricorn. And if you're watching this in early January, Pluto is hanging out at 29 degrees. So it's at that energetic degree. Even though it has not tipped into Aquarius, we're already starting to feel the energies of that. And we're going to see it kind of building over the next few months as Pluto spends most of 2024 in this sign. Now, from January 21st, 2024 to June 29th, 2024, we are going to have Pluto in Aquarius. It'll have a brief retrograde back into the sign of Capricorn in the fall. And then Pluto will officially move back into Aquarius in November, and it will remain until 2044. If we look briefly back at the history of Pluto in Aquarius, because this transit happens only every so many years, or in our case, every so many hundred years, this is something we have not experienced yet in our lifetime. If you have any personal planets from about 0 to 3 or 4 degrees of Aquarius, you will be under a Pluto transit. So this is a once in a lifetime transit you'll be experiencing. It's all about change, transformation. I'll give you a whole list of things that, kind of come with Pluto transits. And equally, if you have any placements from 0 to 4 degrees of the fixed signs. So not just Aquarius, but also our Tauruses, Leos, and Scorpio placements, you guys will be feeling a square or an opposition of Pluto. So you will be feeling the effects of this as well. In the past, though, when we look at what's gone on with Pluto and Aquarius, we can go back to the 1530s, long time ago, obviously. But I did a little bit of research the last week or so, and some things that I kind of dug up was early exploration of Canada and the Americans by Europeans. So, we know that Aquarius is about pushing the limits of something, so it can be about exploration of any kind. We also saw that this was the beginning of the Protestant Reformation. In the 1530s, we saw that English Parliament passed something called the Acts of Supremacy. This made King Henry of England the head of the English Church, and this was a role that was formerly held by the Pope. So essentially the king took reign over the church and took control. Kind of interesting considering Pluto is moving into a sign that is about groups of people. It's about, the collective, so collective groups or masses of people. And it's in the opposite sign of Leo. And Leo is known as the king. So we could definitely see kings trying to, or leaders trying to regain some sense of control over the people. But if there's one thing that we know that Aquarius does is it rebels, it goes against the grain. Then we move to the more recent time period of Pluto in Aquarius, and this was from 1777 to 1800. This period of time was marked by a number of historical events, especially in context to the American Revolution and the aftermath of the Declaration of Independence. So when we kind of look at that yearly range from about 1775 to like the early 1800s, really this time period of Pluto going in and out of Capricorn before finally moving into Aquarius was really the kickoff of the American Revolution. From 1775 to 1783, we saw a lot of stuff happen that really led to the birth of this nation. In 1776, we had the Declaration of Independence, which was signed. This was the Continental Congress that adopted the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. And this was declaring the 13 American colonies as independent states from the crown. Then from 1777 to 1778, we saw the Battle of Saratoga. This was a crucial American victory over British forces, often considered a turning point in the war for our independence. In 1781, we saw the Battle of Yorktown, where General George Washington, with the help of French forces, defeated the British at Yorktown, leading to the eventual British surrender in 1783. This then led to the formation of the United States. In 1787, we saw the Constitutional Convention, where delegates came together in Philadelphia and drafted the United States Constitution, which was later ratified in 1788. And in 1789, George Washington became the United States' first president. He was inaugurated and was basically brought into this new government, which was formed. When you think about Pluto, Pluto is about a purge and a purification process. It can be ugly. It can definitely be dangerous. There can be a lot of conflict. There can definitely be war with Pluto. It has associations with Scorpio. It's its modern day ruler, so we do see some similarities to Mars. But yeah, the French and the United States independence happened during this time. We saw the French Revolution actually take place around the similar time of 1789 to 1799. Now, this corresponded also with a time where we had Uranus that was in opposition. So Uranus was in Leo opposing Pluto. So it was a little bit more of like a bloody revolution, to be honest with you. This is quite literally the epitome of mad kings and queens kind of, challenging the newly awakened masses. And in 1789, we saw the French Revolution begin with the storming of Bastille on July 14, 1789. And this was really symbolizing the people's uprising against the monarchy. And then finally, we saw in 1791, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. And this was the revolutionary principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity were proclaimed. And then we saw the execution of the French king, which was basically marking a radical phase of the revolution. So we see a lot of turnover with group conflict, with challenges in terms of politics. And this is about bringing the power to the people. Now, during this time period, we also saw expansion and exploration. This was a time where Lewis and Clark, from around the early 1800s or the early 19th century, they were going on expeditions and exploring the newly acquired Louisiana Purchase territory. Definitely Pluto and Aquarius can represent kind of pushing our boundaries and going into places that most people would fear or would dare not to go to. I do think that we're going to see pushing of limits, not just in terms of travel, but space travel, space exploration. That might be how it kind of manifests with this go round. And then finally, all of this was kind of this build up to the late 18th century where we saw the Industrial Revolution begin. And this was, really starting to gain momentum. It led to a significant technological advancement and obviously major changes to manufacturing processes. And it's kind of streamlined the assembly line and manufacturing as we know it today. So these are only just a few examples of what's happened in the past. Was very different astrology then, so we have to take into consideration some of the aspects that's going to be happening with Pluto and Aquarius. We see some really interesting transits over the next few years. Later in the summer of 2024, we're going to see Pluto and Jupiter trine. So we're going to see a grand air trine between Jupiter and Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, which I think is going to be huge shifts in regards to communication, technology, travel, and innovations in these topics. Obviously, these are air elements, so it can be things revolving around frequencies or information or exchange or the cloud. And in the next couple of years, we're going to see Saturn and Neptune ingress into the sign of Aries, and it'll start sextiling Pluto. So we're going to actually see some supportive and kind of like harmonizing energies, but also all of these are outer planets that are going to be moving. So we're going to see huge shifts kind of going on for all of us collectively. Now, themes that kind of come to mind for me when I think of this particular transit, number one is like the technological revolution, right? We've seen this in the past. We saw this especially, with the birth of the United States, people having to learn to kind of forge their own way and having to work together to be able to build their future. The traditional ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, so it can have this sense of boundaries and hardening and, responsibility and maturity. But the modern day ruler is Uranus. So it does talk about this kind of like uprising of the human spirit, which leads to innovation and further progress. So I think Pluto's influence, in Aquarius is definitely going to bring some sense of like a technological renaissance. I assume that we're going to see innovations that once seemed, like fantasy become a reality. We've seen the birth of AI since this particular ingress in this last year. Quantum computing and breakthroughs in renewable energy are likely to be big themes that we'll be hearing about throughout the next several years. Really, this is about embracing change and where advancements in technology can be positive in shaping our world in unimaginable ways. But obviously with Pluto kind of has this other side where it can be about this purification and transformation and rebirth, but it has to kind of purge and expose all of the darker sides of things. So we're definitely going to see some of these technocratic, themes kind of coming up in this world where we are realizing the darker side of innovations in technology and where it can kind of have a mind of its own that can really take away from a sense of like being human. Now, it's almost guaranteed, and we're already seeing it with this, Pluto at 29 degrees, the brink of like a political evolution. Because Aquarius is a sign that's known for progressive ideals, it will be welcoming, Pluto's transformative energy in politics. So expect a surge in grassroots movements, unconventional political figures, and a call for transparency. Political structures may undergo radical changes to better reflect the evolving needs of society. The age of exposure, right? Exposing what's in the dark. That's what Pluto is all about. I think in the sign of Aquarius, it's going to be information. So we're going to see information drops, leaks, exposure, potentially even of like corruption in the connection between technology and politics. I do expect energy paradigm shifts. Our energy landscape is set to transform dramatically with Pluto and Aquarius. It'll be encouraging the exploration of alternative and sustainable energy sources, from breakthroughs in clean technology to community-driven energy initiatives. The global energy sector will experience a revolutionary shift towards conscious solutions. Pros and cons. The pros can be that we can find types of energy that could literally be freeing us, in a sense of, limitation, right? We think of Pluto being power, and I think of Aquarius being technology. You're going to hear a lot more about these battery-powered vehicles. We're going to hear more about rechargeables. We're going to hear more about how it can kind of alleviate some kind of stress on the planet. But we're also going to see where there is a lot of money in that, because Pluto can be about wealth, and where this movement towards, the green movement to totally make this shift in regards to energy can have some like darker kind of control kind of connections, or it can also be about having the ability to tap into our private lives, because Pluto can be about privacy. So where technology can kind of be like spying on us. We're going to hear more about humanitarian efforts, because that's what, the spirit of Aquarius is all about. It's about, being able to combine Pluto's transformative force with Aquarius's need to be able to help the planet. So this will be emphasizing collective well-being. So we can see a surge in global activism, social justice initiatives, and renewed commitment to addressing systemic issues. And individuals and organizations are likely to join forces to create positive change on a global scale. I think that we're already starting to see this with some of these like super groups. I think we're going to see also certain kind of outcast figures in society that are banding together and creating their own networks. I've joked for a very long time that I thought Pluto in Aquarius would bring like vigilantes almost, and where we would see people who would be coming out and almost kind of being like modern day superheroes, because it is the anti-hero. That's literally what Pluto in Aquarius is about. It is the opposite of Leo. So we're seeing where people are going to be shying away from fame, power, recognition on an individual level. And we're going to start seeing where people are bringing their individual traits and being recognized as a part of a group collective. So I keep saying, I hope this is a return of the boy bands. We'll see. But essentially, 2023 to 2044, with Pluto moving through the sign of Aquarius, we're likely to see fundamental transformation and reform to abstract systems of law and measurement on rational, scientific, secular, and algorithmic grounds. Some big words, sorry guys, because Aquarius also has to do with like science and technology and math. So we're going to see major changes in transformation in regards to that, and likely a push to challenge the laws of like physics and all kinds of other things relating to space and all of that fun stuff. Now, Pluto in general, and the themes that Pluto brings. So if you're an individual who's going through a Pluto transit, if you're looking at your chart and you got a planet that's 0 to like 4 degrees of Aquarius, you will be experiencing a conjunction. And Pluto transits can last about a year to 2 years time, depending on the retrograde. And Pluto is associated with transformation, but regeneration, right? Think of like the phoenix. So it's about power and intensity. These are words that kind of come up when we think of this planet. And when Pluto transits a planet in your chart, it's activating it, right? It's fusing as it comes into conjunction with that other planet. So it's going to be bringing a theme, right, of Pluto and that particular planet. I hope in the future to do a video on all of the planets. I know people have been asking me about Pluto transiting certain planets. Maybe we can do that later this spring. But I will say that the big theme that comes with a Pluto transit is transformation and rebirth. Pluto is referred to as the planet of transformation. So during a transit of Pluto, you may undergo profound changes both internally and externally. And this can include shifts in personal identity, values, and circumstances. So Pluto is going to express its energy the way that it's going to express. It's going to be about, death and rebirth themes. As it goes through Aquarius, it can be about the future. It can be about your goals. It can be about your friendships. You have to look at which house Pluto is transiting to get an idea of where it's going to be bringing some significant change for you. Now, always with Pluto, we see themes of power dynamics because Pluto is linked to power and control. So this transit may be highlighting power struggles, issues of control, or a need to assert your personal power. And it can manifest in relationship, careers, or various areas of your life, depending on where it's going in your chart. Personally, being a Sun Pluto myself, I think probably one of the themes that I like of that conjunction the most is that there is this opportunity for regeneration and healing. Because Pluto is transformative and it can bring healing and regeneration after a crisis. So you may have to, confront some deep-seated issues. There might be a need to go through some sense of trauma or healing past trauma, working through psychological challenges, and this will likely lead to a process of self-discovery and healing. So there is a method to the madness with a Pluto transit. Usually, Pluto transits provide some sense of intense emotional experiences. So this is where you have to really look at the theme of the planet that it's coming into contact with, or the angle or the house. But emotions tend to run very deep during Pluto transits. And the reason for this is that Pluto has connections to the sign of Scorpio, which is a water sign. It's a fixed water sign. It is literally the kings and queens of change and regeneration. Scorpio or Pluto teaches us that there is a heightened sensitivity to emotional matters, and sometimes our emotions can be buried deep beneath the surface, and we have to really dive deep to almost excavate these things and bring them to the surface so that they can be kind of dealt with and they can kind of be healed. To do this, obviously, it requires some sense of awareness, and a willingness to kind of shine a light in the dark. But generally, that provides us with the opportunity for catharsis and purging. Because Pluto's influence often involves purging and letting go of what no longer serves us, right? Almost kind of excavating it and kind of removing it. So this can involve shedding old habits, relationships, or situations that may hinder your personal growth. The process can be intense, but ultimately very rewarding once you get to the other side. This will bring opportunities for empowerment. And I think that Pluto does obviously deal with power, but it's also about empowerment and bringing that to the forefront. So if you're going through a Pluto transit, you may need to confront and overcome feelings of powerlessness, control issues, or external forces that are influencing your life. So it can be things that are outside of you, especially if you're going through like a Pluto opposition. So if you've got a lot of Leo in your chart, you're going to be feeling like you're going through this with relationships to other people. Versus Aquarius placements, you might be feeling like you're doing that yourself. Pluto always provides some sense of deep psychological insight because Pluto is about depth, and it encourages us to dive deep into our psyche. So during these transits, we may gain profound insights into their motivations, into our fears, into our desires, and there can be a sense of like self-awareness that can lead to personal growth and transformation. But with these transits, the one common theme that I see is endings and beginnings. Pluto transits often coincide with the end of a certain like life phase or relationship or job or home situation, making way for like a new beginning. So the beginning of the transit can oftentimes be very challenging, but ultimately it's a natural part of the transformative process. For example, Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008. So now that Pluto this year is getting ready to leave Capricorn, maybe look at where Capricorn is in your chart, see what theme that house is. Now that Pluto is getting ready to leave that pretty soon, maybe you want to think about what was kind of suddenly changing or transforming in 2008 and like where you stand now. Just personally reflecting on that transit, having it gone through my fourth house, it's really interesting when I think about how Pluto went into my fourth house in 2008. It corresponded with a really big life change for me and my family, picking up, moving, relocating, literally changing the roots and then going to a new home. And as Pluto is leaving now my fourth house, I'm just now moving into a new home. So you may see similar correlations where it's almost like history is repeating itself. But now that you've gone through that really powerful process of like regeneration in that particular house and those themes, you're finally like wrapping up that chapter, right? You're finally kind of completing something. And Capricorn is an earth sign. It's a cardinal sign. So it initiates something. So something was being initiated. That's a part of like your long-term growth or maturity or career. Also ruled by Saturn. So in a way, Aquarius is kind of carrying the torch and building off of what changes you've really been making since about 2008. Pluto also has connections to sexuality and intimacy because of the correlation with Scorpio. So these transits may bring changes or intense experiences in these areas, prompting individuals to explore and better understand their desires or what their sexual preferences are, or be finally combating or healing issues revolving around trauma in these areas of your life. And it also brings collective societal transformations as well, especially in the sign of Aquarius, because it has that connection to Uranus, which is about the masses of people. So we're going to see that this will include political structures, society norms, and cultural values. All of these are likely going to be changing in a very big way. Now, you guys know me, you probably like my astrology, you watch my channel because I like to connect the dots for you all and talk about how the transits in the sky are really reflecting what's going on here on Earth, right? As above, so below. So even though Pluto has yet to go into Aquarius in 2024, it's been kind of teetering the last month or so at that 29 degrees. I've just got a list of headlines that I would like to read to you guys, which I think is very appropriate. So I'm going to try to stick specifically to the headlines. And these are ways that I feel like throughout this last week or two, I have been either, reading my media or listening to my news or doing research, and there's something that sticks out and I'm like, oh, there's Pluto, right? He likes to lurk in the shadows. He does not always want to be seen. Remember, Pluto is associated with the god Hades, which is the ruler of hell. And Pluto in Capricorn definitely is more connected with these top-down structures. And it's interesting to see how Pluto's ingressing into Aquarius, where it's going to be about enlightenment. It's going to be about consciousness. It's going to be about airwaves and information and data and technology. So maybe we're going to start to finally comprehend and better understand and really see and be able to communicate and talk about and discuss what has been happening for the better part of like the last 10 plus years while Pluto has been in the sign of Aquarius, in the sign of Capricorn. All right, so number one, and I have taglines for each of these so you guys can see how it relates. Pluto is about crime, okay? And Pluto is also subterranean. It is what is under the earth. If we think of Taurus is the tree line and everything that is like on the meadows and the mountains and all of that stuff, below that, where the roots are, right, where the dirt is, where the bodies are buried, that's all Scorpio's layer, and that's all Pluto. So this week, unfortunately, quote, hidden beneath Orthodox Jewish buildings, vast illegal tunnels housing 20,000 plus, built during pandemic lockdowns, now exposed. Police swarm in, evacuating thousands and making arrests. A secret city under New York City. What is really going on? Pluto is subterranean, so there you go. And this awakening of like, wait a second, what's going on underground? Uranus is in Taurus right now. It's going to go direct at the end of the month, but Uranus is the dispositor for Pluto. So as soon as Pluto goes into Aquarius and Uranus goes direct, it's interesting to see Uranus really kind of saying, wait a second, there's valuable things or there's resources or there's physical things under the earth that maybe shouldn't be there. Even if we look at from, the traditional standards of looking at Saturn as being, the dispositor of Pluto, Saturn is in Pisces. So it's about what is hidden, right? What's going on that's hidden. And Saturn in Pisces has to do with structures and things that are connected to temples and churches and mosques and hospitals and prisons. So in recent news, to be neutral, okay, we've also heard about some of the tunnels that were coming up also. That was connected to hospitals supposedly, and the accusations that it was connected to Hamas. Whether it's true or false, I'm not here to play that game, but it's interesting to see the correlation where it's like, well, it's underneath hospitals, and now we're seeing that it's underneath Jewish Orthodox buildings. Kind of crazy and absolutely terrifying. I won't go into it. If you're not hearing about this on your news, if you're not turning on the 6 p.m. news and hearing this stuff, it's time to change your news sources and really get out there and see what's really going on in the world. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about, you may not be hearing about. Okay, number two, Pluto brings dangerous groups, right? Pluto can be crime, Aquarius is groups. Just this week, breaking news, Ecuador erupts in civil war with cartel thugs. Ecuador is experiencing prison takeovers, hostages, bombings, and executions in multiple cities. A news station was hijacked on live TV. So we're seeing all kinds of crazy stuff on the highways. We're seeing footage of shootings that are going on and cartels that are taking people hostage. Terrifying stuff, right? So that's one example of some of the stuff that you'll see in Pluto with Pluto and Aquarius. Terror is very much Pluto and Aquarius's group. So I think we're going to be hearing more about that. It's not really limited to just physical. I think we're going to hear more about security, cybersecurity. And you guys have heard a lot about these issues involving like power in the grid, where there can be attacks with that stuff. That's very much Pluto and Aquarius as well. Pluto is also about control and power and resources or money, okay? So when it's in the sign of Aquarius, it's going to be about control over the masses or groups of people trying to control the collective. Not many people may know, I've talked about this a couple times, but the pandemic treaty is going to be voted on in May of 2024. And if you don't know what that is, it's important that you educate yourself when you find out. because I consider the pandemic treaty to be a national killer. And I believe that it will strip all of us of our individual and sovereign rights. This means whenever the HWO or CDC declares something as a health emergency, they would have full control as to how to respond to it. This could even declare climate change or public health crisis, for goodness sake. A foreign entity will control how we respond to a public health crisis. And that's really concerning, especially if it's something that's potentially going to supersede your country's constitutional rights. I think it's really important that we're aware of this because we only have a few short months before this is going to be voted on. At the end of May of 2024, there's going to be over 170 nations who are going to be voting on this. And I feel like this is like an all hands on deck situation, and it's a pivotal turning point for humanity, and it's a time for everybody to wake up. Ask yourselves, first of all, do you know what this is? If you don't, go and learn about it. Go and read the treaty. See how many times that it's been edited and run through. See what it's going to be limiting, and ask yourself if that's something that you want to sign on for. If not, you should be calling your local and federal representatives and telling them that you have concerns about this, because ultimately, if we sign on for this, it's going to be something that is going to be decisions that are being made outside of your country's jurisdiction. Pluto is all about death and crisis, and I will say this very simply without getting into detail, but an estimated 17 million deaths and counting globally has been accumulated per Brett Weinstein. That's more than 2 World War II battle deaths in total. From what, you're asking? Well, you're going to have to go and do your research, but just take a wild guess. Pluto in Aquarius is about power to the people. Just this last week, Klaus Schwab sees what's happening in Germany and panics. On live video, he admits we're seeing an anti-system movement. What we're seeing is a revolution against the system. He has good reason to be worried. The masses of people are waking up while him and his elitists have been, kind of running things and trying to enslave the world. Aquarius is about consciousness. Cities across Germany are now overwhelmed by massive convoys of tractors and trucks as the German farmers and truckers mass mobilization take to the streets, and they protest against the German government. Taxes that are going on there for environmental reasons, which are going to be almost essentially eliminating farmers, which is something that we should all be concerned about. So these are just some ways that I'm already starting to see Pluto kind of peeking his head in, looking around. I anticipate we're going to see more, obviously, because, as we see this Pluto ingress happen, it's going to be taking place simultaneously with the sun. So we're going to see the sun move into the sign where it's in its fall, and it will come into conjunction with Pluto, shining a light on the dark and starting to expose and hopefully radically waking everybody up. I do believe that this is a transit that has the ability to, really kind of challenge the narrative of a great reset, and instead, I think, become a great awakening. Now I'm going to give you guys some advice for each and every one of the 12 rising signs. I'm going to tell you where Pluto is moving for each and every one of you. As a reminder, I am a Western astrologer. I practice whole sign astrology. You can use your whole sign, rising, if you would like to look at the house that Pluto is ingressing into. If you use Placidus, you can listen for 0 to about 2 degrees. That's where Pluto is going to be moving throughout this year. And definitely listen for your rising sign, followed by your sun sign and your moon sign. That's where you're going to get the most out of my predictions. And as always, we'll start with my Aries and my Aries rising. All right, guys, so for Aries and Aries rising, you're going to have Pluto moving through your natal 11th house. And Pluto has associations with Scorpio, which is your 8th house ruler. So there's going to be 8th house themes being brought into your 11th house. For you guys, my recommendation is to engage in community projects and social causes. Network and build strong connections. Embrace innovation in your career and also in your personal goals. The 11th house can be about friends. It can be about networks, connecting with powerful people, your goals changing in a very significant way. But it also can be a big shift in regards to who you want to associate with. It can be big shifts revolving around also how you're making money. This is second house to the 10th. So your goals revolving around resources and money that you bring from your job can definitely be a big theme here as well. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You're going to be experiencing Pluto's ingress into your 10th house. Pluto natally rules your 7th house of relationships and committed partnerships. The 7th and the 10th house are angular houses for you, Taurus. So if you happen to have anything from 0 to 4 degrees of Taurus, you're going to be feeling a Pluto square. And this is a closing square to your sign. So you're going to be seeing themes revolving around authority figures, father figures, bosses, and major changes and transformations that will be going on in your career. It's about embracing unconventional approaches to your professional life and focusing on leadership and innovation. This can also be about a powerful team that's building between you and another person, or developing like a much stronger personality or persona in regards to your public reputation. It can also be a time where you feel like there's more pressure, there's more visibility on you, especially when it comes to your relationships with other people at work. So something big is changing in regards to, to your reputation or to your career. For some of you guys who are retired, or those of you guys who aren't working, it could also be a time where you're really feeling like there's something that you're really set on doing out in the world and helping kind of create some kind of change, or bringing some sense of awareness or assistance to other people, even if it's not in a professional manner. Okay, so focus on leadership and innovation. For Gemini and Gemini rising, Pluto will be moving into Aquarius in your natal 9th house. And this is a fellow sister air sign. So for you, Gemini, it's trining your sun, moon, or rising, especially if you're 0 to about 2 degrees. Air trines are wonderful. It's harmonizing with your sign. I think for you guys, because Pluto's connection to the 6th house and it's moving into the 9th house, might talk about major shifts revolving around expanding your horizons through education or travel, embracing diverse perspectives and exploring unconventional belief system, engaging in humanitarian causes, and maybe learning more about health or your beliefs. There can be a sense of like wanting to fuse your beliefs and your routines or your habits together. And some of you guys can become very passionate about a new practice or a new belief system. And it's something that goes hand in hand also with acts of service, because the 6th house deals with that as well. Making more time for travel and learning seems to be a theme here also. Good luck. For Cancer and Cancer rising, we've got Pluto going into the sign of Aquarius. It'll be moving into your natal 8th house. And Pluto obviously rules your 5th house of creativity and love affairs and children. For you guys, Pluto moving into the 8th house. I mean, one thing I will say is that that's kind of like where Pluto is most comfortable. So it likes being there. It is in a sign that is in conjunct or quincunx you, Cancer. So you might feel like you're having some uncomfortable conversations, or you're dealing with something that's like changing in regards to your finances or your resources. So this can be some big dramatic financial shifts here as well. But specifically in the 8th house, what this is going to be bringing up for you is a deep transformation in relationships and shared resources. You're facing some of your financial matters head on and embracing joint ventures, and also seeking profound connections on an emotional level. This can be a time where you're getting really passionate about making money, about investing, and also going through an intense change and transformation of the heart because of the connection to your 5th house. So children can definitely affect you big time, emotionally or psychologically. There's also potential for finally kind of dealing with childhood trauma or blockages from your childhood that you can be healing in this house. Okay. Good luck. For Leo and Leo rising, you've got Pluto going into Aquarius in your natal 7th house of relationships. Pluto has connections traditionally to Scorpio and your 4th house of home and family. For you, Leo, you'll be experiencing an opposition. So Pluto will be opposing you, especially if you have any Leo placements 0 to about 2 degrees. That will be the hot spot this year. As Pluto moves into your 7th house, you're really going to be focusing on partnerships. They're going to undergo some sense of transformative energy. This is about embracing open communication and unconventional relationships. Collaborate on projects that align with your values. There may be a sense to confront issues in relationships, especially if it's with friendships. You know, Aquarius can be friendships, 7th house can be romantic partnerships, spouses. But it could also be about issues that you're having with partnerships that reflect issues maybe that you've had with home and family. There can be the sense of like history repeating itself. It is possible with the opposition that partners going through, or friends, or just other people going through significant changes or transformations impact you or your home in some way. And it's going to be interesting because, you know, relationships need to kind of be reborn, or they need to evolve. And especially with the Sun and Pluto coming into conjunction right when Pluto moves into the 7th house, there can be a sense of saying like, hey, you know, let's come together, let's have some renewal of an existing relationship, or let's go deeper together, or let's get married, or let's move in together. So it can be positive things here as well. And if you're single, it's possible that you could be bringing somebody in that dramatically changes or transforms something about your home base. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You will be experiencing Pluto going into Aquarius in your natal 6th house. So for you, Virgo, you know, Pluto traditionally rules your 3rd. There you go. Stick with my right hand. Rules your 3rd house. And for you guys, you know, Pluto moving into the 6th, it's moving into a sign that's going to in conjunct or quincunx your sign. So if you're an early degree Virgo, a lot of this deals, I think, with health and habits. A lot of this deals also with your daily routine. I think Pluto going into the 6th house is showing you that you need to focus on your health and your well-being. This is also about embracing innovative approaches to work and daily routines. I would recommend considering how your skills can contribute to a group effort. And with Pluto being the ruler of your 3rd, some of you guys might be doing some training or taking on some new skills so that way you can be of better service to other people. But this can also be about kicking habits. So if you're like, I want to quit smoking, I want to quit eating something, I want to get healthier, you might be embracing technology and like having technology help you when it comes to being able to be more productive or being able to better kind of maintain your health. I would also say for you guys that this can be a time where bad habits can be emerging, and you realize that they don't have to be physical habits, they could be mental as well, because Pluto's connection to the 3rd house can be like mental challenges, okay? So watch for that, Virgo. We've got Libra and Libra rising. You're going to be experiencing Pluto going into Aquarius in your natal 5th house. And it is obviously a fellow sister air sign. So if you're a Libra rising, 0 to 2 degrees, you're experiencing a trine. This is harmonious energy for you, Libra. It's going to be trining your ascendant, helping you change and transform something about you and your relationship, your appearance, or your body. Pluto is the ruler of your 2nd house of money, personal finances, and possessions. And Pluto is moving into your 5th house, which is all about creativity and self-expression, taking center stage. So for you, Libra, I think this is about embracing new hobbies and forms of artistic expression. And you might be considering unconventional approaches to parenting and relationships, because 5th house can be love affairs. 5th house can be having children. It can also be about your relationship to your inner child and having fun. I like this for you, Libra, because I feel like you're investing more time or more resources into having fun and being able to tap into new hobbies and ways to, be able to better express yourself. And you may become obsessed maybe with designing or creating or playing. There may also be opportunities to be learning that these hobbies can be developed, and it can be something that can be money-making opportunities. Big changes also in regards to romance and, like I said, children. You know, some Libras and Libra risings with eclipses taking place on your ascendant, and Pluto moving into the 5th house could definitely be a pregnancy transit. Good luck, Libra. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. Scorpio, your planetary ruler Pluto is on the move. It's moving into the sign of Aquarius, into your 4th house, which is an angular house. And Pluto rules you, your body. So wherever Pluto goes, it's like an archetype, you know, on the chessboard that is you. So Pluto in the 4th house, whatever is changing or transforming, because it's beneath the horizon, is likely to be very personal, very private, and it's going to relate basically to your home base, right? So for you, this is very much connected to transformations of your home and family. This is about embracing innovative approaches to home improvement and a real focus on building a strong foundation for the future because of the connection of Aquarius. This can be challenging for people who have placements from 0 to 2 degrees of Scorpio. I would even say maybe even 4, because it's going to get up to 2 degrees this year. And this will be considered an opening square to your sun, moon, or rising if you have any personal planets there. The 4th house can be the past. It can be your ancestry, your roots. It can be about your home or a parent. So there can be, sometimes this transit is marked with like a death in the family, a parent going through a crisis or a major transformation. But it can also be about like leaving home, having a new home, embracing, you know, maybe passing the torch and, you know, starting your own family. That can be coming up here for you as well. It's interesting that the sun is the ruler of the 10th house of career and also of like children and responsibility. And it's in the 4th house. So there is some sense of being like, okay, you know, taking responsibility for making big changes at home with the family or big changes in your home to be able to better advance your career. Pay attention. You're going to see Scorpio, especially all the way into February. There's going to be this building kind of conjunction of other planets like Mars and Venus that'll come into conjunction with Pluto as well. And likely it's going to kind of materialize as everybody either in the household or in the family rallying together to be able to kind of embrace this new change. And I think it's going to be really positive for you guys. It's just sometimes this kind of starts a little bit rocky. So sending you guys lots of good vibes throughout that transit. We've got Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. You have Pluto going into Aquarius in your natal 3rd house. And obviously Pluto has connections and associations with your 12th house of the subconscious and what is kind of hidden. This is the ethers. So what can I say about this transit? Well, for you guys, this is all about communication and learning, taking a bit of a transformative turn. Embracing new technologies, unconventional methods of expression, engaging in community outreach. I feel like this is about changing your mind, literally transforming the way that you communicate with others, learning to transmute fear and not speaking fear into existence. This can also be about a total change or a transformation that you have in regards to your relationship with your community. There can be some drama kind of brewing with a sibling. There can sometimes, knock on wood, be unexpected issues where like a car is on the verge of kind of, you know, being on the fritz. There can be computers that die, cell phones that kind of break, and then you have to, you have to go and get it fixed or you have to replace it. So if something electric is going to go out, this is likely going to happen with this transit. The other thing that I would say is that this really teaches you the power of manifestation and speaking things or writing things into reality. So take account like your manifestations and really be about speaking things into reality and empowering yourself and not letting fear get in the way. I think that's really the big key. And where alone time and reflection and sometimes even journaling or going for a walk or going for a run can be really beneficial for like kind of clearing your mind, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising, who's probably stoked because you guys are kind of graduating. You're almost done with Pluto. Pluto has finally left your sign, so make sure you leave some comments below for Aquariuses. Give them some parting words of advice. For you, Capricorn, this is going to be moving through your second house, and Pluto traditionally rules your 11th house of goals and friends and networks. The second house is a financial house, so this is about personal transformation, especially when it comes to your values, your resources. Financial matters usually go through a major change, and you become more focused on sustainable spending habits. I think this is about your goals in regards to personal resources dramatically transforming. I think that this can be also about feeling empowered by working hard for something or being able to kind of make your own way. This can be about friends or connection or networks of people helping you make money, or some kind of collaboration you have with a group, or potentially even like a business that you have started. That can happen here as well. And maybe making money with a friend or some kind of network where there can be like a referral based thing that can help you as well. But also Pluto is crisis. I'm not going to candy coat it. So, Pluto going into the second house, if there are financial issues brewing, you're getting really real with yourself and being like, okay, what can I and can I not afford? And like, what needs to transform in regards to my resources? I know a lot of you guys are experiencing South Node eclipses in your career zone. So some of you guys are saying, okay, I'm retiring now, so I need to be more mindful of like where my money is going and how I'm spending it. Some of you guys are changing jobs or getting laid off, and you're facing some challenging circumstances in regards to your financial situation. Pluto will totally transform your resources. So by the time it leaves your second house, you're going to feel a lot stronger and a lot more physically and mentally, I would say, because it's an air sign, kind of secure with your resources. But Pluto will sometimes say to you, what are you afraid of? And then if you answer that, it'll go, okay, here you go. So you don't want to allow the fear of not having enough to get in the way. Really, I think a lot of this transit is really believing in yourself, building your self-esteem, because you're going to learn that you're only going to get paid what you feel like you're worth. But nevertheless, try to have friends around. You might see some of your friends or connections to other people as being extremely valuable and helpful when it comes to building back your finances or your self-esteem. Good luck. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You will be experiencing Pluto going into your sign. You got a little sneak peek of it last year, so now it's back. Pluto crossing as an Aquarius rising and angle is a period of just total transformation. So for you, because Pluto rules the 10th house and it's crossing your ascendant, this is a time of personal reinvention, embracing your unique identity and exploring new facets of your personality. You may be focused on engaging in humanitarian efforts. You may also want to be dramatically changing something about your appearance or your reputation or your career. Some of you guys are saying, hey, I've always been known for, being this out in the world, and now I want to kind of like rework something about my image, or I want to identify as someone or something different. So I think it can be about taking your power back. I think it can be about empowerment being in your sign. I will tell you that the conjunction is the strongest aspect you can have in astrology. So that conjunction is about really highlighting who you are and what it is that you hope to become, what you want to be known for, what your legacy is going to be, and making the decision to kind of look into the shadows and kind of clear out all of the things that are keeping you from being the best version of yourself. Anybody who's gone through a Pluto transit will tell you that you kind of get your passport stamped to go to hell and back. So there is a lot of obstacles in the midst of this transit. But I think for you, it can be a time where you're just like radically redefining who you are. And it can be quite exciting. Especially I think about like in this next year, how you're going to see Jupiter and Uranus move into your 4th house. A lot of it is finally embracing life on your own, or having some sense of freedom or independence, and breaking free from your career, limited relationships or limited living situations, and being able to be hopelessly and gloriously yourself. So I hope it's a good one for you guys. For Pisces and Pisces rising, you'll be experiencing Pluto going into your natal 12th house. This is all about your subconscious and what happens behind the scenes. This is about foreign lands, spiritual experiences, dreams, intuition, your past lives, your hidden talents. Pluto has connections to your natal 9th house, which is about your faith and philosophy. So as Pluto goes into the 12th house, it's about taking a deep dive into your subconscious and embracing personal transformation and exploring spirituality, faith, or your belief systems more. This is about learning to trust your intuition and using this transit as a time to heal past wounds or to better explore past lives. So hypnosis, meditation, astral travel and remote viewing and all of these things can kind of come up for you with these transits. It's interesting that Pluto's going into this part of the sky, so it's going to dramatically transform something about your relationship, maybe to your faith or your higher self. And you've got Saturn and Neptune in your first house as well. So I could definitely see some of you guys, if you're using this in a proactive way, you could go, well, I'm trying to kind of really harness some of my intuitive abilities better and kind of, learn to fine tune them. And you could be doing some kind of metaphysical training or, research into metaphysics or esoteric topics, and really using it and applying it in a regular kind of fashion, especially with your physical body, like through meditation or channeling. Equally, the 12th house is hospitals and mental institutions and, private spaces. So if you're one of those people with Saturn and Neptune in your first house where you're experiencing physical ailments and illnesses, this can be about finding yourself in a treatment center or in a hospital bed. It can also be about finding yourself in a situation where you're consciously choosing to be separate from society or choosing to be in another country and wanting to kind of be alone. So I could definitely see a lot of you guys using this to your benefit by learning to listen to your intuition and kind of better kind of gauging where you're supposed to be going, what you're supposed to be learning, and doing a lot of powerful work behind the scenes. I hope that's helpful for you guys and giving you some insight in terms of these really big shifts that are going to be happening over the next 10 days or so. Like I said, we're going to have a stretch of some time that Pluto is going to be in Aquarius. So hopefully we can come back and talk about this a little bit more. Keep in mind that Pluto will go in and out of Capricorn. So it'll return later this year, briefly in the fall for a short stint. So we're going to get to do this 0 degrees of Aquarius a couple different times. So if we don't get it right, we're going to have 3 times total to kind of work through this. But let me know, how are you feeling with this energy? Where are you seeing Pluto's emergence into Aquarius starting to kind of peep, through collectively in the news or out in the world? I would love to hear some of your guys' insights of how Pluto is showing himself to you in your life. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and brings more astrology lovers onto the channel and helps us grow. If you guys like my content, consider joining my memberships. You guys can support me as a full-time content creator. You can also join me here for Fridays where I do live readings at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. We go back and forth between tarot and astrology. You guys can catch me here tomorrow. I'm going to be here doing live astrology readings. I'll post the link in my community tab if you guys would like to join me. I know we've got this new moon in Capricorn coming up too. So really powerful time to be setting intentions and goals. So we can kind of chat about that if you guys want to join me there. And if you want to see more of what I offer, like some of my astrology calendars or my personal one-on-one sessions or any of my other products, check out the links in my description at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. Until next time, I'll see all of you very soon. Enjoy this transit, and I'll catch you back here when Pluto is finally making its move into Aquarius. Take care.